welcome to round 7 of PTQ Dragon's Maze here in Liverpool. We're following Neil Rigby, the only other player to be playing the Auras deck, and he's going to be up against Mark Poole playing blue-white walkers. Interesting to note that there are no counter spells in this deck, which might work a little bit in his favour. It's very easy to actually represent having stuff like mana leaks.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the things that can certainly get into a lot of people's minds whenever they see an island. They think, right, I've got to play around counterspells now, and they end up giving you a turn or two more than you actually warrant.
Unfortunately, being up against the Auras deck, I'm not sure he'll get the opportunity to do that. Auras is pretty much a deck where you just drop your guts on the table, irrespective of what your opponent's trying to represent.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that Mark will more than likely end up with a slight problem on his hands at this point. Although because Neil's not got a 1-drop, that means that his Path to Exiles might become active if Neil goes to get a Dryad Arbor and start putting enchantments on it. Yeah, Neil's going to shortcut there. And he does get a Dryad Arbor. Just looking for a vessel to put all his enchantments on at this point.
So in this case he'll probably be dropping some kind of one casting cost enchantment on it. Obviously the most obvious one would be Rancor, because that's going to come back to his hand if the Arbor does indeed get pathed.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see what Neil's going to drop here at this point.
You're not losing any card advantage against that. Not
really, and in he comes for 3. That is Rancor that he's put on the Dryad Arbor. And Ghost Quarter from Mark as his second land. I suppose that isn't the usual tell that it would be. Because a lot of the time when someone lays a Ghost Quarter as their second land, it kind of means I have no more land in hand. But at this point, because Dryad Arbor is in play, he might just have played that Ghost Quarter just as a way of dealing with that Dryad Arbor.
That's certainly the first time I've seen anyone look at a Rancor. So that maybe suggests that he has some kind of removal spell for it, and he's just wondering what happens to the Rancor if the creature is, say, for example, exiled.
Yeah, I mean, Mark does play Spreading Seas as well, so he can turn the Dryad Arbor off with Spreading Seas as well.
Maybe he was checking for whether it trampled.
Yep, that is another Umber from Neil, so he deals 4 through that Wall of Omens. I believe that one's Hyena Umbra. And that's Spreading Seas, so it's going to turn off the Dryad Arbor and the...
Just turn it into an island. Ah, yeah, so he was probably checking to see whether the Rancor would fall off because it's no longer a creature. Which indeed should be the case there.
Yep. And the Hyena Umbra falls off as well. Bit of a clunky mana start here from Mark, really. Neil's going to go back to the tank and see if he can find himself a creature, I think, at this point.
Now he has 1 blue mana to go with it.
Yeah, for all those blue enchantments he doesn't have.
Not a legal cut there from Mark Poole nowadays. You're meant to cut and shuffle.
Yeah, you are meant to. Well, shuffle. There's no such thing as cut anymore. It's just shuffle. Neil sacrifices Horizon Canopy to draw a card. I believe he drew into a Glade Cover Scout there. Yep, indeed he did. Takes 2 off the Temple Garden. I don't think he's too concerned about his life total here.
Very certain the Rancor's coming back down.
Yep, there we go. Now Mark has to think what he wants to do with his turn. Lays a Tectonic Edge. So he now has access to a few of his Planeswalkers, Jace, Architect of Thought or Elspeth. I don't think either of them are going to be particularly effective against what's more than likely coming next turn, but Jace is going to tick up and give...
yeah, it's really all you can do is tick it up there.
Yeah.
But Neil, I would imagine, he's just going to carry on directly attacking Mark's life total here. Jace is largely irrelevant, I think, as far as...
Depends how much Neil thinks he can keep in the game at this point. If he has a Umbra style enchantment in his hand, a totem armor in his hand, he might just put that on the creature and then just realise that Mark pretty much can't interact with him in any meaningful way, so he might as well just kill the Planeswalker to stop Mark getting deeper into his deck.
If Neil can't do that, then Mark should definitely be looking at throwing the wall in the way sooner rather than later.
So Spider Umbra and Spirit Mantle come into... come on to the Glade Cover Scout there. So it is currently a 5/3 with protection from creatures and reach. Yes, and trample, so I am trying to keep track of everything that's on this creature. Knocks Jace down to 1, obviously, because of the -1/-0 effect from Jace. With the Umbra on it here as well, it means it's not an Umbra. Yeah, with the Spider Umbra on it as well, it means that Supreme Verdict isn't going to work for Mark Poole either at this point.
Yeah, certainly that's the card Neil fears Mark using. He doesn't want him to search with Jace to actually get closer to a Wrath effect.
Yeah. So Mark down to 11 at this point.
But not really putting any threats on the board to pressurise Neil back.
Nope, there's Supreme Verdict destroying his own Wall of Omens and killing a +1/+1 on Neil's creature. Not really the best use of 4 mana that it could have had, but I guess it's the best play he could potentially have made.
And again, Neil really, can recover from these kind of effects due to having cards like Rancor, which really just don't care about.
Yeah, it's got Core Spirit Dancer as well. It's just another card which is... he just allows him to make a monstrous creature, and if it dies, it doesn't matter because he's drawn so many cards. Makes another Hyena Umbra. Puts Ethereal Armor on it, so I'm sorry, I'm going to have to get my calculator out on this one.
Well, the choice is whether to go for Mark or for Jace now at this point.
Yeah, and the Glade Cover Scout is now 9/7 trample, first strike, protection from creatures. And I believe that Neil's going directly for Mark's life total here, and he is, yep. Loses 1 for the Jace ability, so deals him 8.
He's just going ahead and assuming Mark doesn't get lucky with a second Wrath.
Well, second Wrath wouldn't work, he's got the Hyena Umbra, so he'd just end up destroying that rather than anything else. Jace goes away. None of those cards deal with what's on the board.
Early Mark's looking at having 7 mana before he can do that. He needs both the Detention Sphere and the Wrath at this point.
Yeah, he needs to Detention Sphere the enchantment which gives protection from creatures and make Lingering Souls, and even then it's not good enough because Rancor gives Trample. So none of those cards are going to help Mark at all. Neil just taking his time there.
Would be so much better if it was a proper fact or fiction. Lingering Souls went into the graveyard.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that having -2 cast fact or fiction on a Planeswalker would probably be a little bit awkward. Unless it came into play with 2 loyalty and had no way of ticking it upwards.
And here we are, Mark's just pretty much accepting there's nothing he can do, so Neil goes 1-0 up and Mark gets his Spreading Seas back.